What a frustrating weekend to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Yesterday, Tottenham Hotspur lost again at home 2-1 to Aston Villa in one of the most frustrating games of football that I can remember watching at the stadium since last season, probably actually, and every game last season. And I think it highlighted a lot of the issues that we have had under Thomas Frank at the start of this season. Issues that have been really creeping in and were covered up by, a few last-minute equalisers like the one against Wolves, but that have been there for a little while now and have been frustrating us for a little while. And look, I think the issues are quite obvious to everybody. I think that it's not rocket science to work out what's going wrong. I think it's not rocket science to work out it is rocket science actually, why Thomas Frank is keeping on persisting with some of the players that are starting in this team. And obviously we are hampered by injuries too. Christian Romero going down injured in the warm-up and not being available yesterday did really hurt us. Destiny Udogie not being available for the game as well, again, did really hurt us. And it is still frustrating, missing the likes of Dominic Solanke, Kolo Muani still not fully fit. God knows what's going on with him still, but he did obviously come on yesterday, but again looked miles off the pace. And we're going to analyse the game. We're going to go through all the key moments in the game and talk about what our problems are. God, I hate doing this after a loss, man. I love doing these videos when we win because it's really fun. You can talk about players in a positive light, but unfortunately, after a game like yesterday, there's really not much positive to talk about at all. After the 5th minute, where we scored our first goal, which we're going to go through now, there just wasn't really much positive at all, if anything. And look, our first goal was obviously a set piece that came back out to Jed Spence, played it to Mohamed Kudus, a lovely ball in from Kudus to the back post, really, really well attacked by Polinia, and it fell to Bentancur in the middle of the box. Obviously, it wasn't a tap-in, but, had most of the goal to aim at, was a decent finish, came off Andre Onana and went in. And at that point, you're thinking, right, 5 minutes into the game, we've gone 1-0 up. That is perfect for us. That is perfect because we can maybe sit back a little bit more, play a game that suits us more and absorb a little bit of pressure. But Villa didn't really break what they were doing in the first place, really. They didn't really come at us. They didn't fly at us after the goal. Obviously, I guess that is the advantage of conceding so early on. You don't need to panic. And it just led to a really stale first half after the goal from Tottenham Hotspur. And again, like I said, I was confident when we went 1-0 up that we were going to win the game. So I thought, defensively we're super solid. I didn't think Danso would cause us any issues defensively. I was more worried about Danso coming in and replacing what Romero gives us in the build-up in terms of he can't really replace that. And so when we went 1-0 up, I was confident. I was thinking that is the ideal start. Of course it is. You scored in the 5th minute. And then, moments like this, the game sort of had a little bit of a lull for the next 10-15 minutes. And then Kevin Danso, who I thought was actually really good defensively yesterday, didn't really put a foot wrong at all. And moments like this where Donny Omala looked like he was going to go through, Kevin Danso marshalled him, did really well, shoved him off the ball and played the ball to Pedro Porro here, who I want to talk about a little bit later on because Pedro Porro was probably one of the most positive forces yesterday for us and so much of the good came through him. And I also want to explain why some of the bad that came from him is just not his fault at all. And this ball, picks up the ball in this position, sprays the ball over to Wilson Odobert there. A lovely first touch from Odobert. And he's going at Matty Cash. And in this position, this is where I've had a problem with Odobert over the last couple of weeks. I really like Odobert. I really do believe in his talent. But this is the exact kind of situation where I have had a slight issue with him in terms of being confident, taking a man on and making a decisive choice in this area. And despite the fact that it might have even been the wrong choice cutting in and shooting, this is what I want to see more from him, is making that choice and backing it and being confident in your decision making and being confident in the execution. And he takes Matty Cash in on the inside. The ball was probably on there to Xavi Simons just inside the box, but takes the shot on, forces a decent save from Martinez. It's actually unlucky that Tell has not got in front of his man there because he could have been first to the rebound. But again, a positive moment and one of those where Villa had broken forward and then we won the ball back, countered them, and those are the kind of moments that I expected to kind of keep cropping up throughout the game. But unfortunately, in the 37th minute, we then concede. I don't even know what it is. It's obviously a great strike from Morgan Rogers, but we get unlucky here. Morgan Rogers tries to play the ball first time through to Matty Cash. Xavi Simons intercepts it. I've seen some people try and blame Xavi Simons for this goal, which is absolutely ludicrous to do. I mean, the ball rebounds off him. He intercepts the ball, like I said, and he kind of half slips over. He goes to tackle Morgan Rogers, realises that he's not going to get anywhere near the ball, and then pulls out of the tackle because he knows that if he does make that tackle, he'll foul him and likely get a yellow card. And he was relying on the men behind him to be stepping up and blocking whatever Morgan Rogers was going to do next, which unfortunately didn't happen. You look at this situation here, right? I want to analyse Bentancur in this situation because, look, I don't want to make it a sort of one-man attack job, but Rodrigo Bentancur was a huge issue yesterday. And I don't even think he's a huge issue as a player. I think he's a huge issue next to João Paulinho. But in situations like this, he just doesn't help himself, right? You look at his positioning here. He's our defensive midfielder who was playing on the left side of that midfield. You have João Paulinho covering the right spaces and Bentancur covering the left spaces. Obviously, they sort of dovetail. They go where they feel like they need to go. But what good is he doing sitting in between our two centre-halves here? I don't know if that's instructional, that Frank's told him to do that, but it's mental. You've got Morgan Rogers there who's going to step into this space. Bentancur has to sniff the danger there and step out to Morgan Rogers. Because even if Morgan Rogers doesn't try to play that pass first time that gets intercepted, he's just going to take the ball in here and drive into this space. And okay, at that point you might think the position is not too bad. He can step up from this position. Look at where he is when Morgan Rogers takes this shot on. He's still 5 yards away from him. 3-4 yards away from him. Not closing it down. João Paulinho, look here. João Paulinho is over here. He's marking whoever that is. Kamara, I think, who's sort of pulled off him. And João Paulinho is assessing this danger right now. He's looking at that thinking, why is nobody covering Morgan Rogers? I'm going to have to get across to him. You look at where they're starting from. Bentancur's close to him and in the position to step out. And it's João Paulinho the one who ends up getting closest to him when the shot is pulled off. Bentancur has barely moved. In fact, he's not moved. He's literally not moved. Since Xavi Simons intercepted... Oh, mate, my head is spinning again now. Looking at his back. Look at where he is there when Morgan Rogers received the ball. Bearing in mind, throughout this entire time, Morgan Rogers tries to pass it. Xavi Simons intercepts it. The ball rebounds back to Morgan Rogers, who then drives into that space, takes a touch before shooting. A lot happens before the shot comes off, and Bentancur has moved a yard. Maybe 2 yards if we're being generous. It's just criminal. Like, I don't know if that's instructional, whether Frank's told him to do that, but the fact we've allowed Morgan Rogers to get the shot off in that situation is baffling. And yes, you're not expecting him to put it into the top corner, right? But he does do that, and you've got to expect that players of his quality have that in the locker. Terrible defending, really passive, sloppy defending from Rodrigo Bentancur and from everyone in that Spurs team, to be honest. Everyone around that area. And then, people have blamed Vicario, and whilst I don't think it's an outright mistake from Guillermo Vicario, I don't also think he covers himself in glory with his starting position. It's just one of those where, like, he's not even got near it, which is the disappointing thing. And it kind of feeds into the, I don't have an agenda against Vicario. I was actually praising him a lot last season. But the back end of last season and coming into this season, he's instilled no confidence in me whatsoever. And I'm honestly just begging for Kinski to get a chance now. I really am, because Kinski helps us in build-up so much because he's so much better on the ball than Vicario, and I can't see how he'd be much worse in terms of errors leading to goals and shot stopping at the start of this season. But look, who knows what will happen. I don't think it's an outright mistake from Vicario. Like, I wouldn't blame him for this goal. I think it's much more an issue of letting him get the shot off in the first place. But again, yeah, it doesn't really cover himself in glory. And then after this, like, the reliance that we had on set pieces. We are literally set piece FC right now. Like, we take the piss out of them lot for being set piece FC. We are set piece FC, playing for throw-ins. And by the way, I wanted to talk about it a bit later on, but we might as well cover it now. The way I was losing my head when we were getting throw-ins in like the 80th minute when we were 2-1 down, and we were waiting for Kevin Danso to jog over from the other side of the pitch. And why was he jogging so slowly? If you're going to take a long throw-in, sprint over if we're losing. Oh my God. I'm just reliving all of my nightmares in the South Stand yesterday, watching this all unfold. I was sat about, literally behind the goal about there, and I was losing my head. I was losing my head, but I thought I'd calm down before I make this video, but clearly not. And yeah, we got a bit of joy from set pieces. Obviously, we scored the first goal from it. And I don't mind set pieces being a big part of our game. That's fine. But it has to be in addition to also being able to create things from open play. And I can't be bothered to wait 30, 40, 50 seconds, a minute sometimes, for Kevin Danso to jog over to get the ball, to then dry it with his towel, to then launch a long throw-in that realistically we'll probably score 1 or 2 goals from this season. It's just get on with the game. There were so many times where the player who initially had the ball for the throw-in could have just thrown it to a player and we could have just restarted the attack again. But no, we'll wait for Danso. It's fine. His long throws are amazing, to be fair, but Oh, God. Anyway, then, I mean, I want to talk about Porro. I'll talk about Porro now because, again, I saw people getting onto him for quite, losing the ball quite a few times yesterday and not being, trying things that weren't necessarily on all the time. When we have such a reliance on one player to create something deeper in the pitch, when you don't have a Romero in build-up, basically all of the responsibility fell to Pedro Porro. And when you're as reliant as we are on Porro to create things, you can't then blame him for trying to create things and it not working out every time, because so much of the good that happened in the game for Spurs came through Pedro Porro, because he was the only one who actually wanted to look forward and try and play a pass. This ball into Mohamed Kudus was an outstanding pass. The ball to Wilson Alderweireld in the first half was an outstanding pass. There were multiple other times where he played nice balls into Kudus, those little clip balls down the line, which, again, the fact that a clipped ball down the line to Mohamed Kudus is basically the only thing that we have going for us in attack right now against these teams that sit off us. It is just a bit of a nightmare. But he created this chance and Kudus got down the right-hand side, but nothing really came of it. And it's just frustrating. It is just frustrating. And then, obviously, Villa's goal comes in the 77th minute. I turned around, I said to Kish, to Lily White Lab, a lot of you will know him, I sat next to him yesterday. I said to him, I was like, you just know one of Watkins or Buendia is going to come on and score. Like, you just know it's going to happen. You know Villa are winning this game. We've seen the script way too many times. And it was just the most ridiculous goal ever. Matty Cash hitting just the most insane volleyed ball over to Luca Digne, who takes the most like Zidane-esque touch. Like, the Bundesliga logo, literally that touch. He then flicks it back inside to Emi Buendia. And then, let's look at this again, right? So you have Rodrigo Bentancur here. Spence has got Digne. I need Rodrigo Bentancur in this situation to be sniffing out the danger again. João Paulinho is coming back to cover this space in the middle of the pitch. I need Bentancur to be getting over and closing down Emi Buendia, especially when we reach this position. You see this position right here? Bentancur is marking nobody in this position, okay? João Paulinho is tracking Amadou Onana, who, by the way, João Paulinho, again, should be probably a little bit closer to Amadou Onana in this situation. But in this situation, the immediate danger, Bentancur has to get over to Buendia and close him down. You then look at where Buendia gets the shot off from. Rodrigo Bentancur's just retreated into the penalty area. Like, again, I don't want to just blame one man for this. And again, maybe this is instructional, because both times you see him retreating into the penalty area and not closing down the space on the edge of the box. That then forces João Paulinho to come over and try and do something, and Jed Spence to lose his man and have to go on to Buendia to try and close him down too. But you're fighting a losing battle at that point. And in that position, in this position here, look at where Buendia shoots from. Look at where Bentancur is in this clip. And then look at where Buendia shoots from. It's about 2 yards of space in between that. Like, that danger has to be sniffed out for me there. You look at the immediate dangers. You got, I think that's Pau Torres, number 14 for Villa. I think that's Pau Torres. What the fuck's he doing up there? But he is, Mickey van der Ven and Danso covering him. Danso is looking over his shoulder. He has seen that Morgan Rogers run, which he's covering. João Paulinho will be covering Onana, and if he's not, then that's his responsibility. Jed Spencer's got Luca Dean. That is Bentancur's job, to go over to Buendia and close down the space and to block and to try and stop Buendia either making a pass or taking on a shot from that position. Like I said. And you look in that situation, Danso has covered Rogers, Spence has obviously covered Digne, Mickey van der Ven stepped across to block out that passing lane to Pau Torres and to block out Digne. It's just the shot on there. And yeah, I'm not, again, it's not like a huge error, like a massive error from Bentancur that's immediately noticeable, but it's just a little bit frustrating how passive that is in terms of not reading the danger and not getting across to block the shot. Might be harsh, but there you go. And in the last 15 minutes, did we create anything? Oh, no, of course we didn't, because the substitutes were also mental. Thomas Frank has to take a large part of the blame for me for yesterday. In fact, pretty much all of the blame. I thought the starting 11, going with Bentancur and Paulinho again, was criminal, like absolutely criminal again. I thought, you have to play a Bergvall, you have to play an Archie Gray, somebody who's going to get on the ball and be braver on the ball, be more progressive. There was one time yesterday, that I can remember, either João Paulinho or Rodrigo Bentancur trying to find Xavi Simons in this pocket of space, in the pockets that we need Xavi Simons to be collecting the ball in. And that was when Bentancur tried to fire a ball into him, overhit it, it went through to the Villa defender, and then again, it's like he got scared in that moment, was like, I'm not doing that again, and just didn't do it again. So often, we were seeing him build up. Porro pushing a little bit higher, Bentancur almost dropping into this space here, and then Paulinho sort of sitting in this area. Bentancur would get the ball and it would just go from Bentancur to Danso to Van der Ven to Spence. And then back from Spence to Van der Ven, over to Bentancur to Porro. Porro might then look forward. If it's not on, back to Bentancur. Bentancur's first thought in build-up is always, and it's not like he doesn't have the technical ability to play a pass, because you saw it yesterday. He can try and play that pass into Simmons, and if he just underhit it a little bit more, if he made a pass that we all know he can make, he finds Simmons in that pocket, and we're turning and we're going forward, we're attacking. And even if you're trying forward passes, sometimes they don't come off. You win a second ball, you're still on the attack, you unsettle that defence, you keep those midfielders guessing. Bentancur's too safe. Paulinho's too safe in possession. So that's why you need to compliment a Paulinho, who I think has become undroppable for his work off the ball. I thought Paulinho was excellent off the ball yesterday in his defensive work. That's why you have to compliment him with a Bergvall or a Gray or a Pat Matasar. Somebody who is going to be braver and be more progressive. I don't know why Bentancur can't be braver. Again, maybe it's an instructional thing from Thomas Frank, but keeping those two on for, like, I think the 88th minute or something was when Bentancur was taken off and we broke up that partnership. It's just mental. I thought it was pretty cowardly yesterday from Thomas Frank. I've got to be completely honest. And again, Xavi Simons is copping quite a lot of heat for the game yesterday. And was Xavi Simons great when he got the ball in the areas we wanted him to get the ball in? Because that did happen a couple of times. No, he wasn't. And there were a couple of times where I needed him to be more decisive, either take on a shot or, play a pass a bit quicker than he did. And there were a couple of times where he cut inside and then just nothing really came of it. And yeah, you need more from him in those situations. But also, our attackers are receiving the ball, right? So fewer times in areas where they want to be receiving the ball in, that there's so much pressure on them to then make something happen every single time, because it's so few and far between they get the ball in those areas. I mean, how many times did Odegaard get the ball to face up his fullback one-on-one yesterday? Probably a lot more than, Kudus did at times. Kudus always had 2 or 3 men on him, and Odegaard occasionally got the ball, and there were a couple of times where he made something good of it, and a couple of times where he didn't make something good of it. But the more you get the ball to him, the more good he is going to come from here. And we are too basic in possession. We are too scared in possession. We're too timid in possession against these teams who are going to sit off us a little bit more at home, where the onus is on us to go and create something. We are too scared almost to play forward passes, to get our attacking players involved in the areas of the pitch where they want to be involved in. And look, again, were any of our attackers great yesterday? No. I thought even Kudus, who was creating things and trying. I mean, our literal game plan is to get the ball to Kudus and hope he creates something, which is just mental. The over-reliance on that right-hand side on Porro and Kudus right now is crazy, but even him, when he was getting the ball in those areas, just wasn't quite decisive enough yesterday for me, and there wasn't enough quality there in the final action. But again, the moments that they get the ball in the areas that they want to get the ball in are so few and far between right now. And the issue is with the build-up. You get the ball to these players more in the areas they want to be getting the ball in more. You sustain attacks better, so they're repeatedly getting the ball, quick fire, Odegaard one-on-one, the ball gets switched over to Kudus, whatever. And we're sustaining those attacks better. So you have 3 or 4 in a period of 2-3 minutes, and you really get the opposition under the cosh. You tire the legs of the defenders, because we didn't tire Villa's defence at all yesterday, and that was really, really frustrating. And again, we're missing players like Kulusevski, we're missing players like Maddison, we're missing players like Solanke, and these players that are missing are very important to us and can help in this issue, but it's got to come from Frank. Our build-up centrally is non-existent. There's nothing there. There's nothing going on there, and to not even just do something to make a basic change that would just make us immediately better in that area, and to bring in a Lucas Bergvall next to Paulinho is crazy to me. Somebody who can carry the ball forwards, or somebody who is brave enough to try and make a pass, even if it doesn't always come off. Like, that's crazy to me. And if we continue doing this, especially in games where the onus is on us, and I think the quotes from Frank after the game are quite worrying, actually, in terms of, he was kind of saying this is what I expected from the game. 2 great teams going head-to-head in a 50-50 kind of game. And I was thinking, that's the game you expected it to be 50-50. This ain't Brentford anymore. Like, I'm not being fun. I love Frank. I'm a big believer in him. But those quotes worried me a little bit yesterday, because you can't do that at Spurs. We have to be dominant at home. We have to expect to be dominant and want to be dominant at home. We shouldn't be looking at Villa going, oh, great side, it'll be a 50-50 game tomorrow. We should be looking at them going, no, actually, they are not an unbelievable side, Aston Villa. They're a good side with some good players, and they've struggled at times at the start of this season, but picked up a few wins recently. But we should be looking to dominate them at home. We should be looking to really take the initiative and drive on that advantage, especially after we go 1-0 up. And to have that mentality of like, oh, well, this is a 50-50 game, 2 quality sides, they just took their chances. That's not going to be good enough moving forward for Spurs. That's not going to be good enough. That's the kind of mentality that a Brentford would have at home against a side like Villa. That Brentford would have at home against most teams in the Premier League, because Brentford don't have the players that we do. That's just the cold, hard facts of it. And Spurs can't afford to do that, and we are going to lose more games. I mean, our home record is disastrous. Like, I think we've won 3 home games in our last 18 in the Premier League, which is just absolutely disastrous. The amount of money that we're paying week in, week out to go to these games, the amount of money that my tickets are costing, and we're getting that kind of mentality, that kind of attitude, and that kind of performance, and these kind of results that we've been getting for the last, year or so at home now, really. And it's no wonder the atmosphere is flat, because the Spurs Stadium can be great, it can be rocking. When we've got something to get behind, it will be rocking. But we have witnessed terrible performances at home to Bournemouth, Wolves and Aston Villa in a row now. 1 point out of a possible 9 in those games. You can't expect the stadium to be absolutely rocking each week if we're turning up and putting in these kind of performances. I can't remember the last time I had something really big to cheer about at home. And again, look, should the atmosphere be better than it was yesterday? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a marriage, the atmosphere and the performances. You don't get one without the other normally. And again, there were times yesterday after Villa scored, we really got behind the team. We were singing for the 2 minutes afterwards. But then, how am I supposed to sing when I'm watching Bentancur, Paulinho, Danso and Spence just passing the ball 5 yards between themselves for 5 minutes? It just saps the life out of you. It saps the energy out of you. And the positives moving forwards are, we've got some games against some more tough opposition, which I'm happy with, because I think we're actually set up better to play the better sides right now, to have less of the ball, to maybe play a more transitional style of football. I think that will suit what Frank's trying to do more at this minute. Does that alleviate the issues that we've had at home against these teams that are going to sit off us? No, and those issues will continue to exist unless we adapt in those kind of games. But I think we'll look better against like a Chelsea, for example. I think we'll look better away from home against Newcastle, for example. Like, we will naturally look better in these games because I think we're set up more to play in these games. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to have a Doggy and Romero back, hopefully from their injuries very soon. Hopefully for next weekend. I don't expect they'll be back midweek, but hopefully next weekend we have those players back. Hopefully Solanke's back imminently. Hopefully Conor Mawani can get up to speed and actually start looking like a footballer. Bro, he was so bad when he came on yesterday, Conor Mawani. But again, can't blame him. Doesn't really have the fitness at the moment. So that's an issue that needs to be sorted. Hopefully moving forward, like I said, it's a little bit more positive with Spurs, because right now we're slipping and we need to sort these issues out. We need to address these issues. I'm very calm with Thomas Frank still. You're not going to get massive reactionary statements about Thomas Frank from me after 8 games. But he is in an important period now where he's starting to lose a few people in terms of losing a few people from what we're currently seeing. I don't think he's losing anyone in terms of he needs to be sacked, but he's starting to make a few people have some serious doubts creep in. I'm having some serious doubts about what we are doing at home right now and what we are doing against teams that we should expect to be more dominant against. Absolutely. And I think that this is a really important next few weeks before the international break to address those issues and to get us looking like a proper football team, because right now, yesterday was just diabolical. But again, at the end of the day, we lost narrowly at home. 2 wonder goals, really. It's nothing to be too doom and gloom about, just super frustrating, and I hope that these issues are addressed soon. So yeah, if you are new to the channel and you like what you see, apologies for the negativity today, but look, the issues have got to be addressed in these videos. I can't just be happy, clappy, positive when we lose games of football, and the positive vibes will hopefully return soon if we win a few games, which would be lovely. But if you are new, please do like the video, please subscribe as well, would massively appreciate that, and I will see you in the next one.